All right, guys, here I am again with my Aurora Borealis background, Northern Lights, and we're going to be working on our Lesson 11 problem set together. So let me hide myself and minimize, pull my screen down so it can actually work. Hi, Melanie. She's off to lunch. Or you're off to lunch, Melanie, if you're listening to this. Now, it says solve by drawing disk. Let's just change that real quick. Solve by, oops, oh no, Mr. Briggs. What is going on? Whew, that was weird. I have no idea what buttons I was pushing, but we got it back. So let's put the S there. Solve by drawing. Let's not do disk, let's do digits on a place value chart. Write an equation and express the product in standard form. So remember, that's just how the decimals normally look. 3 copies. Well, they're using copies or times and groups. They all mean the same thing. 3 copies of 2/10. So the expression will be 3 times 2. Well, actually, I'm sorry, 3 times 0.2. Well, what's 3 times 2? Well, 3 times 2 is always 6, but now we're talking about 2/10. So what's 3 times 2/10 is 6/10. Well, if we want to use a place value chart, hey, thanks, Lucas, for doing lesson 9. Actually, it's going to be so tight. But if you need to use, let's say if you need to. 3 groups of 0.2 is going to be 6/10 because I would have, there's my 2, 2, and 2. If I had 3 of those, it would be 6, so it would be 0.6. Now I'm going to take my mouse tool and make that, oh, Mr. Briggs, come on. And make this smaller, get this back over here so it can actually fit. All right, so let's move on to B. 5 groups of 2 hundredths. So 2 hundredths is going to look like 0.02, right? So our equation is going to be 5 times 0.02. Well, what's 5 times 2? 10. So 5 times 2 equals 10. Now we're talking about 2 hundredths. So 5 times 2 hundredths is 10 hundredths. Okay, I'm just going to draw a place value chart right here to help me visualize. Tenths, hundredths. And if I had 10 in this place, that's right, it's going to look like 0.10 because we need to regroup that one. Great job. Let's keep moving on. This is why it's super important to know our math facts, because when we're using unit form, you're just using basic facts, 3 times 6, 2 whole numbers. But then we change it with the unit, and that means what place value we're doing. Again, nice job, Lucas. 3 groups of 6/10. Well, what's 6/10 look like? Well, it looks like 0.6, right? So 3 groups of 0.6. Well, what's, oh, Mr. Briggs. I wanted to undo the ones up here. So 3 groups of 6/10. 3 groups of 6 is 18. If we had 18 in the tenths place, you can see that one of those is going to get, the one in the 10 tenths is going to get regrouped as 1, 1, and 8 tenths are left over. So 3 times 6/10 is equal to 1 and 8 tenths, or 18 tenths. 6 times 4 hundredths. Let's do this one a little different. We'll solve it in unit form, and then we'll convert it into standard form in our equation. So 6 times 400, 6 groups of 4. Well, 6 groups of 4 is, well, 2 groups of 6 is 12. And if I double that, it's 24. So we know it's 24 hundredths is the answer. So let's rewrite this as an equation. 6 times 0.04 400ths equals 2400ths. So let me change the color. If I think about 24 in the hundredths place, yep, I think you can see it. The two 20 hundredths is going to convert and regroup into the 2 tenths. So our answer should be 0.24 or 24 hundredths. All right, 5 times as much as 7 tenths. Well, 5 times 7, it's always 35. So 5 times 7 tenths is 35 tenths. So that's our answer. Let's write an equation to show what we did. 5 times, what's 7 tenths look like in standard form? 0.7. And that equals 35 tenths. So again, I know my place value chart is above, but if I think about 35 in the place value chart, I need to regroup into the ones place. So it's going to be 3 and 5 tenths. Great job. 5 thousandths times 3. Okay, so they're doing it a little backwards. They're saying there's 5 thousandths groups of 3. So we can just do this the same way. Let me just double check to make sure I don't mess you guys up. Wow, Mr. Briggs, I can't even find it on my paper. There it is. So we'll just flip it around. We will do 3 groups of 4 thousandths. Well, actually, let me undo that. What is 4 times 3? Well, it's 12. What was our unit? Well, that was thousandths. So that's our answer. So let's write the equation to get it. Well, 4 thousandths, so 0.004 times 3 equals 12 thousandths. So again, whoops, think about 12 in the thousandths place. That 10 of those thousandths need to be regrouped over into hundredths. So we know that 0.012. Great job. Or 12 thousandths. Let's move down into this next section. Come on, there it is. And let's read the directions. The directions say to draw a model similar to the one pictured below for parts B, C, and D. Find the sum of the partial products to evaluate each expression. So it's asking us to draw an area model and to solve it like we were doing in our practice and to solve it like this example. So let's finish the example. We can see that it's 7 times 3 and 12 hundredths. So we see the 7 over here. We see the 3 ones, the 1/10 and the 2 hundredths. I'm not going to write the unit with it because they're already there. I just rewrote those so that your eyes were focusing where they needed to go. And then in each box, we write the equation for what is being solved or what is being asked of. 7 groups of 3, 7 groups of 1, 7 groups of 2. The unit will follow it. So what is 7 groups of 3? Well, it's 21 ones, right? 7 times 1, actually we'll use standard form down here in the bottom. 7 times 1 is 7. We're talking about tenths, so it's 7 tenths. So that's going to look like 0.7. And then 7 times 2 is 14. And then we're talking about 14 hundredths. So we see that represented. We should have actually wrote the unit form underneath here. You don't have to do this on this one. We'll do it on the next ones. And then 14 hundredths. Well, then how can we add those together? Well, you can try to do it in your head. Well, there's 21 wholes, and then there's 7 tenths plus 1/10, so that would be 8 tenths, and there's 4 hundredths left over. Now, if you couldn't do that in your head, that's okay. Stack them and add them, like we were doing in the concept development video. Because if you can do this, your brain will get there to getting it mentally. You're just not there yet. So we just need to practice the right way to get this accurate, right? And I like to say perfect practice makes perfect. So make sure that you're practicing the right way so that you can get your brain there to be able to do these things mentally. So let's go ahead for B, quickly draw an area model. And we're doing 6 times this number, 6 groups of it, and it's 4 and 2500s. I see 3 places represented with digits, so I'm going to give myself 3 places in the area model, and I'm going to use unit form on the top. So I'm just going to break them out. So it's 4 ones and 2 tenths, 5 hundredths. Well, what's the math problem? Well, it's 6 times 4 in this box. Moving over to the next one, it would be 6 times 2, right? And then the last one is 6 times 5. But we know that these units are still there, so I'm going to just write the units, because once we solve them, we still want them to be the unit that we're working on. Well, let's work from the hundreds first. 6 times 5 is what? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30. So we're talking about hundreds, so it's 30 hundredths. What's 6 times 2? 12. So 6 times 2 tenths is 12 tenths. And then 6 times 4. We already did this one earlier in the lesson. And 6 times 4 is 24. So let's, now that we have the answers in unit form inside of the area model, let's go ahead and convert them on the bottom. So 30 hundredths, well, if there's 30 in the hundredths place, I'm visualizing on my place value chart, I have to move those 30 hundredths into 3 tenths. So it's going to look like 0.3. And if you want to represent it as the 30 hundredths, you can. 12 tenths, again, visualizing 12 in the tenths place, knowing that you can't have more than 10, you need to regroup. So 10 of those tenths go over to our ones. And then 24 ones, so 24 plus 1.2 plus 0.30. Well, the last one I did in my head, this one I'm just going to write out. So 24.00 plus 1.2. Remember to stack these. Perfect practice makes perfect. And 0.30. So the zeros, 0, 2, and 3 is 5. Decimals come down. 4 plus 1 in the ones is 5 ones, and then 2 tenths. So our answer should be 25 and 50 hundredths. So 25 and 50 hundredths. So actually I could put it here at the equal sign. 25 and 50. Great job. Let's take a look at the back page of this exit ticket and do 2 more practices of area model, and then we'll be done with this lesson for today. So 3 copies of 4.65. Well, quickly give yourself an area model. I have ones, I have tenths, and I have hundredths. So I need 3 places in my area model. I'm doing 3 copies of it. Now let me just take that 4.65 and break it apart into unit form. So it's 4 ones, 6 tenths, and 5 hundredths. And I know these units are going to stay in their boxes. That's why we're using area model. So I'm just going to label my units right now. That way, all I have to work on right now is just basic math, basic multiplication facts. So over here in our hundredths place, we have 3 times 5, or 3 groups of 5. Well, 3 times 5 is always 15, so it's 15 hundredths. In this box, we have 3 groups of 6. And we know 3 times 6 is 18, so that's 18 tenths. And then over in our ones box, we have 3 groups of 4, or 12 ones. So now we need to convert into standard form and then add them up. Well, 15 hundredths, again, can't have more than 10, so regroup over into the tenths. So this should be 0.15. 18 tenths, again, regrouping, move some over to the ones, so this one should be 1.8. And 12 ones, those are just 12 holes. So 1, 10, 2 ones, and we're going to add those together. Well, if you can do it mentally, go ahead and do it. If you need to stack them, let's do perfect practice makes perfect. 1.8 and then 0.15. I'm going to put zeros in the hundredths place for the other numbers, and then I'm going to stack and add. Hundredths place is going to have a 5. The tenths place should have 9. Decimal comes down. 2 ones plus 1 1 is 3 ones, and then bring the tens place down. I have 13 and 95 hundredths. Okay, last one. And this one is trying to trick you and challenge you. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to change colors. All right, 4 times as much as 20 and 75 thousandths. Okay, let's put it together. Now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits in this number. Do you think we need 5 places? Or should we only do the ones that actually have values in them? Think about that. Should we do the digits that have values in them, meaning 1 through 9? Or should we show times 0? We don't have to show a times 0 because we know it's going to be 0. So we only need 3 places, but we have to know what those places are. Well, 2, first let's multiply by 4, right? Well, the 2 is 2 in the tens place, so 2 tens. I'm sorry I'm writing over that number. I can still see it a little bit. The next digit, you have the problem set in front of you, so you should still be all right. The next digit that we see that's not a 0 is 7, and that's in the hundredths place, so we have 7 hundredths. Oh, Mr. Briggs, let me undo all this real quick. And let me get this. Nope, let me move this. Come on, Mr. Briggs. There it is. Get the problem set out of the way. Make this work smaller. Get the problem set back here so it doesn't get confusing on this next example. Thanks for hanging in there with me. So let me build back my area model. Multiplying 4 groups of, and then I have 2 tens. 7 in the hundredths place. And I also have 5 in the thousandths place. I love unit form because it's just basic math facts, and then we can just add them back together at the end. Well, we know the unit stays the same, so I'm just going to take a few seconds to put the units into the boxes. So all I need to worry about is my basic multiplication facts. All right, now let's think about the math that goes in it. Area model, length times width. So we're doing 4 times each of these places. 4 times 5. Well, what's 4 times 5? It's always 20. I'm going to change colors again so you can see it under here. Well, the unit is thousandths, so it's 20 thousandths. Well, this box in a hundredths place is 4 times 7. And we know it's hundredths, so it's 4 times 7 is 28, so we know it's 28 hundredths. And then we have tens, so it's 4 times 2 tens. And 4 times 2 is 8, so it's 8 tens. And here we go. Let's transition these into standard form and then add them. So 8 tens is 80, right? Hundredths, 28 hundredths. So, okay, we were regrouping. So we need to regroup those tens of hundredths into tenths. So it should be 0.28, right? And then the same thing for thousandths. Thousandths, 20 in the thousandths, we're regrouping into the hundreds, so it should be 0.02. Okay, well, let's add these up and see what we get. Again, let's stack them and do it perfect practice. If you think you can do it without it, go ahead. But make sure that if you're checking your work with mine at the end, and if there's a mistake, you know that you got to go back and correct it so that you have that growth mindset and you learn from your mistakes. Well, 8 hundredths plus 2 hundredths is, actually, I don't like putting it up top. I like putting it on the bottom. Oh my goodness. Whew. Thought I lost everything. So 10, regroup here. 2 tenths plus 1 tenth is 3 tenths. 0 plus 0 is a 0. And then bring. So our answer should be 80 and 3 tenths. If you want to represent the 0 for 80 and 30 hundredths, you may, but you don't have to represent that last 0. All right, that is it for problem set. You do not need to do 3 and 4 today, but trust me, we're making sure that your skills and decimals are strong. So we haven't been doing many word problems, but there's going to come a time where Mr. Briggs and you guys are going to be working a lot of word problems. It's very important to be able to read a little math story and understand it. Remember, if you can read in the 100-page or more chapter book and remember those pieces, you should be able to read 3 sentences and figure out the math that needs to happen. So we're going to practice that in the future. I promise you, I'm not always going to skip word problems. So keep that in mind. Right now, I'm really focusing on building our decimal skills, and then we'll transition that into word problems. All right, guys, move on to your exit ticket, and then we'll talk about, I'll see you at lesson 12, and we'll see you soon. All right, guys, bye.